Okay, welcome back. So if you're new to this theatre, I'm Cliff Hill from Ectron. We're sponsoring this theatre today. We're in the corner there. We provide a leading web content management and customer experience platform. I'm glad you joined us. Seems to be the most popular theatre here today, so that's good to see. I'd like to introduce Louise Findlay Wilson, who'll be talking about digital if your budget's limited, what to do and what to drop.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. Hopefully, now that the technology has almost failed, this should be fine. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you. Over the course of the next half an hour, I'm going to rattle through quite a lot of content, and we'll keep it pretty quick with lots of real-world examples, which hopefully you can all gain a lot of benefit from. The first thing I always say to anybody when they're thinking about doing any kind of digital program and they're on a budget, and the budget can be either time or financially, no matter what you're doing, you need to do some basic preparation. And for me, there are these key steps to preparation. The first thing, I'm sure you'll have heard a load of this from other people speaking today, but just to map the pipeline, make sure you really understand the audience that you're going to be trying to influence, where they graze for their information, what inspires them, what moves them. And when I say get to know your audience, I don't mean just define them as 30 plus women with kids living in the southeast or whatever it might be. You've got to get really, really granular about this. Get as much detail as you can about the audience and where they go for their information. The second thing to really get clear about is the stages that they need to go through in order to trust you and therefore buy from you, because that will massively determine the kind of content that you offer them, the kind of feel you have on maybe your site where you take them. So get really, really accurate sense of what that's all about so that you can make sure that everything else you do really has the maximum chance of winning. Now, I'm not going to dwell on this too much because hopefully lots of other people will be talking to you about that. The other preparation step is absolutely have some kind of data capture on your website. Don't ask for too much. I think people make a huge mistake by having too much onus on someone to leave an awful lot of detail. Don't do that. That's a big mistake. You'll have huge drop-off. So just a couple of fields of data, a few fields of data is all you need. And the other thing that's an absolute essential is to have somewhere on your site that you can manipulate the content easily. You do not want to be outsourcing that all of the time. You need somewhere on your site where you can easily and effortlessly change the content. And lastly, the thing I would say is to have some measurement in place. Lots of people will talk about quite sophisticated measurement, and absolutely you can go to lots of lengths around measurements, but in my experience, most people don't even do the basics. So in my way of thinking is if you do some of these core things consistently to a certain extent, you will be doing miles more than the vast bulk of companies. So have some measurement in place. Don't kill yourself to have the perfect measurement model. Just make sure you are measuring and measuring systematically. So I kind of say here, analytics is fine. There are other things you can do, and I will touch upon something we do, but in the very least, if you systematically do that, you'll be off to a good start. So say you've got that, that's all, for me that's planning. So get those elements in place, and I'm sure a lot of you have got those things already sorted out within your organisations. Can I have a quick show of hands? How many are B2B here? How many are, so you're B2B, how many are consumer? How many are a bit of both? All right. So, now, in terms of driving traffic to your sites, this is the exciting and interesting bit, and this is why those preparations were so important. For me, the critical thing, and again, you will have heard, hopefully, some insights from people around keywords, keyword strategy. Do we all know about having a keyword strategy? Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely crucial. For me, my advice would be to find the battles you can win. So if you're a recruitment agency, getting to the top of recruitment on search is going to be a big challenge, but finding some of those valuable niches is going to be well worth doing. So find the battles you can win when it comes to your keyword strategy, and have a really concerted and planned attack around that. And I want to give you a live example here just to prove why this is so powerful. This live example is my own agency. So when I heard I was going to speak here, this was, I think, early September, and I said, let's come to the show having done a test on something just to prove to the audience what's doable. So my agency is called Energy PR. We're a PR consultancy. And so in September, we did some analysis. We use a tool called Market Samurai, which some of you might know about. And it's a way of looking at phrases, keywords, and seeing where the traffic is around those, how many people are searching for those terms, and how competitive the terms are. And it's a good way of identifying, therefore, the search battles that you want to take on, and the phrases that you want to be optimized for. Anyway, in this live example, we looked at some key phrases for a PR agency like mine. And obviously there's lots of traffic around PR companies, PR agencies, award-winning agencies. There's quite a lot of competition around those phrases. But we looked for some that had a little bit less competition, but equally had some good traffic. And in particular, the band in red, which you probably can't read right at the back, I'm sure, is top PR campaigns. Now that phrase delivers a modest 8 searches every month, which you might say, well, that's not massive, but it's very under-competed on. Only 6 people, 6 score for SEO competition. So it's a battle that we felt we could relatively easily win, and it was worth going for because people looking for a PR agency might well be looking for good examples of PR campaigns. So in late September, I said, let's go for some competition around that. So we have a blog that we can easily change. As I said in the opening, make sure you've got content you can easily change. And so all we do now, and have done since 21st-ish of September, was we changed our blog to every week comment on good PR campaigns that we had seen. So you can see we're using the phrase top PR campaigns in the title, in the subhead, it's in the URL, and otherwise we're just talking about good PR campaigns once a week. So we're doing this once a week, that's all the effort, one blog a week. We also tweeted about that content a little bit just because that's what we do a lot of. And we've referenced it in a group we run on LinkedIn. But actually, minimal effort. We got onto page 1 in 4 weeks. Okay? So if you think about your business and where those pockets of traffic are, you can very quickly get to the top of search engines if you pick the right phrases and you decide to work your content accordingly. Now what's really interesting here you can see is that we've also mocked up around best PR campaign of, and in fact there's a huge chunk of traffic that we're now getting that we weren't getting before, just around that very simple activity. You can see the sort of percentage contributions that we're getting from that. But what's really interesting is we use as a measurement technique, in addition to Google Analytics, we also use a thing called lead forensics. There are other services available. Has anyone heard of lead forensics? Yeah. So lead forensics is essentially a paid-for service where they will tell you the names of the organisations looking at your websites. They can analyse the URLs to kind of say where they're based. And what's interesting here is that for this top PR campaigns landing page activity, we're getting some quite nice organisations to our website. One of which, for instance, tells me that Lego, who would be a target client for us, have visited our website twice thanks to that activity. Okay? Now we started that literally, the blogging started late September. And as I say, within 4 weeks it was delivering. So it's very quick, easy, doable stuff. If you get a good keyword strategy, get clear about your key phrases, and then start doing something about it. You know, don't come to lots of things like this and gather all this information and don't go away and do. You know, find a keyword tomorrow, start blogging about it in an appropriate way, and start driving some traffic. So what else can you do? Well, obviously, when it comes to SEO, it's not all about what's just on your site and what you're doing to your site. It's what's out there. And I'm sure lots of people have been talking about the value of content and how important it all is. So I just wanted to give you some inspiration and some thoughts around that whole piece of the puzzle. Obviously, as you know, content's important because Google's assessing appropriate content on valued sites. And by valued sites, invariably, for me, that means the media. And for me, that therefore says it's the natural skill of PR, which is why we are getting such a large number of briefs these days that are all around the SEO piece, to be honest. But anyway, let me give you an example, because I want, again, to make you feel this is doable. You can go away and do this stuff. You don't need an agency like mine. You can go and do it for yourselves, or you might have a small agency you're already working with. Task them with making this stuff happen for you. This company is Origin Doors. They're a bifold door company. So essentially what they do is they put in those kinds of windows, those patio doors that open up the side of your house. You might know the kind of thing I mean. And the beauty of the doors and the beauty of that kind of service is that they create this new external space. So they're very popular for people who've got nice gardens or who want to enjoy their gardens. They're popular for people who like to entertain. It's that kind of marketplace, the home improvement market. Now, what we did with them was we did a really simple news tactic. We did some research. Easily done. Research is so easy these days, anybody can do it. We did some research around how people use their gardens, how much time they spent in the garden given the weather had been so lovely, what a good garden put on the value of their home, the importance of a view on their everyday life, all that kind of stuff. You can picture it. We developed that up into some simple search engine optimized news releases. We created an infographic. And we just pitched that to the online media and to the mainstream press as well, of course, as you would, but a load of online media, and we did some blogger outreach. Nothing complicated. I mean, I know mine's an agency and we did this, but none of this is complicated at all. And the take-up was phenomenal. So as you can see, we've got the Express, a load of regional press, some target end market media, and all carrying appropriate links for that bifolding door company. Now for Origin, although they go after niches, their priority is to be known for when people search for bifold doors. They want to be top of search for bifold. So when it came to this news activity, having the reference to bifold doors with a link back to Origin's site was the prime thing for them. And to be honest, in about, I'd say 75% of cases, the media was very willing to carry the links. It seemed appropriate because there was more information about the research on the Origin site. It all made sense for them to do that. We also pitched it to bloggers, as I say, and they equally ran the story. And as a result, Origin, if you look for bifold doors, are very high on the search engines. They dominate them. And their strategy and their budget and their attention is all around PR and good use of external collateral out into the marketplace. Now you might say, well, my business isn't a lovely, flowery, interesting home improvement brand. I'm doing something really grungy. Well, I found a lovely grungy. Nobody is grungier than polythene, trust me. There's not a more boring subject. Sorry if anyone's passionate about polythene, but trust me, it's dull. This company, Polythene UK, is far from dull. They're really clever. They don't even make the polythene, they are a distributor. So there's nothing clever about what they do, other than they've got a very smart use of PR for their SEO. So they had a product which was machine stretched film. So they were looking for the niche. It was an important market for them. They wanted their website to be found for this specific subject. And here you can see that, again, some externally pitched material, search engine optimized for machine stretch film, just in the title with an appropriate link, and they are high on the search engines for that phrase. That's PR delivering for them. So it's appropriate content, absolutely working on a niche. So you might say, well, that sounds all fantastic, but how do I go about creating all this content? It's just me, a couple of people in my business, we don't have an agency, you know, it all seems very hard work. I defy people these days to not come up with content. And here's some ideas, some inspiration for you. These are all sources of content within, and they will be all sitting within your business, whether it's product launches, service developments, facility visits if you have a plant or a site, competitions, reader offers, awards, points of view, predictions, market trends, piggybacking on the news agenda. There's masses of news you can be piggybacking on the back of. Targeting features that are already happening, events. There's a whole host of content that you can create. You might say, well, I'm doing all that, or we haven't got much of that going on in my business. What else can I do? How can I come up with interesting content that the external world will want to know about? LinkedIn groups. Brilliant for creating content. Go into a group, ask the people in the group for their expert tips on whatever is the subject you're interested in having content on. People will fall over themselves to give you advice and tips. Tell them you're going to publicise it externally. So in this instance, for instance, this was an event group. There's a massive event group on LinkedIn. It's got 50,000 members. It's huge, huge. So we went into the group and just asked everybody in it for their top advice on hosting a brilliant event. The tips, we told people that their tips, if they were really good, might be used in the guide and that they'd be fully accredited. The tips were included in the guide. They were grouped together in terms of catering and venue and flowers and all that type of thing. And the tips were amalgamated, they were fully credited, and the guide then was pushed out to the media, it was referenced in the media, it was hosted on the our particular client's website, which was an event portal. All of the contributors were credited, so they shared the guide with all their top contacts. So the whole thing went right across LinkedIn, and it was free. Cost not a penny to produce that guide other than a bit of design work which the client sorted out. So getting the content cost nothing, and people were thrilled to contribute. So harness that willingness that's out there. Equally, you can do polls, you can do them on LinkedIn, you can do them, SurveyMonkey polls, easily done. So this was something that was done a little while ago, but it was just a poll where it was for a company that specialises in leadership consulting, training, that kind of thing. And so we just did a poll which asked what management style people thought they had, and they had to associate, the management styles were based on football managers, so they had to say whether they thought they were an Arsene Wenger or a Alex Ferguson, as it was then, because he was still in control, so on and so forth. So people said what style they were, and then off the back of that simple piece of research, one question, we were able to pitch a whole article on different management styles and what works and why. This content not only appeared in mainstream print, but also went online with all sorts of links back to the client's website to boost and improve search and drive interaction and drive inquiry levels. All free to do. So use tools like SurveyMonkey. If you're going to do something, tweet about it, ask people to take part, generate that content and then post it. Guides, as I've said already, you can do them on LinkedIn, but you can ask for tips on Twitter. People overshare on Twitter massively. So create a guide off the back of the advice that you gather. You can pitch then the guide to bloggers. You can ask bloggers for their tips and advice, their content. The whole thing becomes an easy viral piece. And then the other thought then is, well, if you've got that content, lots of lovely content, how do you make it work, really work for you? Well, for goodness sake, as I said at the outset, have some blooming data capture. So this is a company that specialises in catalogues. They advise on how to design catalogues. Not a fancy business, a small business, nothing big about them at all. So they did some simple research on trends and how people are using catalogues in their marketing. That got pitched and appeared online and in the print media, which drove traffic to their website. And on their website they had an appropriate technique for data capturing people for onward marketing. Nothing clever or tricky about this at all. Easy stuff. If you're going to do things around content and you've got a product to sell, then try and connect your content with your product as neatly as you can. So this was quite a nice initiative, and it was a bit of a rare one, but it kind of shows what I mean. So for instance, this is a toy client of ours. One of their toys was a knitting kit where you can knit a little character. So at the time of the royal wedding, so this was a good few years ago now, we did a special knitting pattern where you could knit the royal couple. I must admit they don't really look like the royal couple, but the idea was that people in the build-up to the wedding could get this special pattern which they downloaded from the site. It wasn't in the kit, it wasn't part of the product, so they could knit the royal couple. There was a space on the site where they could go to get the pattern. They could share their design, share how they got on, but it connected directly in with a product that the client actually sold. So it boosted sales of that core product. Use your content to encourage sharing. This is a really easy thing. If people have a catalogue online or in print, do initiatives where you're encouraging sharing, encouraging people to tweet and share the fact that the catalogue has arrived. Very simple, free stuff, but content should absolutely encourage people to share. And then my final piece of advice is about integrating, and I just want to very quickly show how this is done quite neatly with this same toy client. So for instance, we have Halloween. So on their blog, they've had advice about how you go about making a Halloween mask. It has hyperlinks through to all the product pages so that people can buy the kit to make the mask. They don't have to, but it just is a logical thing, obviously, to do. That's all very nice and good, and it's nice creative content on the site, and it makes it a bit of a destination area. But what else can we do? We then did an initiative, a Twitter-based initiative where people shared their scary photos, their kids dressed up. That was nice. They could win a little prize. It was a nice initiative. We ended up with a huge wall full of entries with the winning one, which was extraordinary. These are people all laying on a piece of paper on the floor and shot from above, these kids, which is fantastic. But obviously the winner was blogged about, it was shared on Facebook, the images were hosted on Facebook, so the whole thing had a virtual beauty about it. And the end result of that was that actually the sales of the products that went towards making the Halloween masks, once we'd done this activity, the sales of those products went up by 40%. So the blog on its own was nice, and it got some sales. Once we did this extra Twitter and Facebook activity, which was just getting people to share their stuff, there was no cost in any of this. Anyone could do it. Sales went up by 40%. Perfect. Equally, when they've gone onto Pinterest, they've shared across Facebook and Twitter, of course, that they're now on Pinterest doing some kind of competition just to remind people that they're there. And just to sort of finally, in case people say, well, this all sounds like an awful lot of work, and, you know, how am I going to get some kind of return from this? These were some analytics from that client that we just pulled off last week. And Ravelry, I didn't know what the hell Ravelry was. I thought, what on earth is that? So I went on and had a look. Ravelry is a knitting blog. It's a sort of forum for knitters. And that royal couple knitting pattern that we did all that activity about 3 years ago is still being discussed and shared on Ravelry to that degree all those years later. So that investment is never wasted. So that's it in a summary. Just get those basic things in place. And if you want a copy of this presentation, just tweet @EnergyPR and use the hashtag, and my team will send you a link. So any questions?
We do have a couple of minutes. Any questions?
No. Where's my heckler who's been heckling me on Twitter? Show yourself. He's not even here. Bloody cheek. Yeah, he's scared.
Okay. Thanks, Louise. Very good.
Pleasure. Thank you.